All right. Well, good evening and welcome to our second Fall Into OBOB event. I'm Julie, the events manager at Roundabout Books in Bend, Oregon. So if you're joining us from outside of Bend, we would love to know where you are. Feel free to drop it in the chat. I had shared this with the OBOB Facebook group, so we know we're going to have people from outside the area, and that makes me so happy. So just a few housekeeping items we need to cover before we get started. So this event is being recorded. If you don't want to be on video, and I know that can be sensitive with kiddos on these events, please feel free to turn off your video function. You will still see and hear us, and then please remain muted unless you are asked to speak, and then I will unmute you. We just want to make sure there's no feedback in the background. Somebody's here from Auburn, California, so yay, thank you. Catherine from Coos Bay. And then comments and questions are welcome in the chat screen throughout the event. What we'll do is towards the end of this, we're going to block off a good chunk of time for you to be able to put questions in the chat or ask them directly to our author. If we get to a time frame of we might have to cut questions off, we will try and answer as many as possible. And then this is the most exciting. If you are local to Bend, Redmond, etc., Jennie Englund is going to be at Roundabout Books next Monday, the 10th, and we can have her sign your book. So plan for that. If you're not local and you want a book plate, feel free to email events@Roundabout Bookshop, and we will work with the author to get us some signed book plates, and we'll figure that out. I love signed books. First, though, one of the things we want to take this opportunity to acknowledge is that our bookstore in Bend, Oregon resides on the ancestral unceded land of the Confederate Tribes of Warm Springs. In our immediate area are also the unceded lands of the Confederate Tribes of Siletz Indians and the Tribes of Grand Ronde. And we really encourage everyone to learn more about the land you occupy and the story of its peoples. If you need recommendations for those kind of books, please visit your local independent bookstore. The booksellers there 100% want to help you find those books to learn more about where you live. And then last, a quick reminder that our next OBOB event is Thursday, October 13th with Waka T. Brown for her book While I Was Away. And then our next is Thursday, October 20th with Rob Harrell for Life of Zarf, The Trouble with Weasels. And I will make sure that the Zoom links are correct on all of those. So if you've already registered, we'll get that correct link to you. But tonight we are so excited to welcome Jennie Englund to discuss her book, Taylor Before and After, which does fall into the middle grade chunk for the OBOB books. So Taylor Before and After tells the story of middle schooler Taylor Harper through journal entries alternating between two timelines, before and after a drunk driving accident in which Taylor Harper was a passenger and her brother was the driver. Ooh, I just got shivers. That's some heavy topics. So Jennie Englund began Taylor Before and After during her time as a National Endowment for the Humanities Fellow in Hawaii. She lives in Oregon, so super local, where she works as a teacher. Taylor Before and After is her first book. So Jennie, I turn it over to you. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Julie, and I loved meeting your doggy when it was just you and me.
Right.
I want to give everyone, I'd like to give everybody a minute to grab a pen or pencil and a piece of scrap paper. Mine is just, it's this scrappy. So grab a piece of paper because I'm going to walk you through a little activity that will make the book mean something or mean more to you. So I'll give you a minute. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for being here, and thank you, Julie, again for the introduction. I know that Taylor Before and After is a hard book. It's a really hard book, and I know it's hard because I wrote it and I had to read it so many times, and it's structurally difficult. And why is that? Julie will give us a link, because I made a 6-minute video clip on the structure or the format of this book that won the 2022 Oregon Book Award for Children's Lit and the 2021 WILA Women Writing West Award. So it has a very unique structure. And ultimately, I'll just tell you that structure, the structure here that goes back and forth before and after, like the title, is the way depression feels to those of us who have it and live with it. We don't see or think or experience in a linear way. Time is different. And I thought about the ocean moving back and forth. So Taylor's tough. It helped usher in a whole new category for readers called upper middle grade. Have any of you been hearing this phrase? There was this time when were we calling it young adult, YYA, or were we calling it upper middle grade? We didn't even know what to call it, but it was because I wrote this book for 8th graders. Yet the middle grade category was always 3rd through 8th. That's a 5-year span. We don't give a 5-year-old the same book we give a 10-year-old. We don't give a 10-year-old the same book we give a 15-year-old, or 15 and 20. So this book was a pretty specific audience, and I'm proud of your OBOBers for digging in and doing this, because the kids who get it are going to be the kids who need it. It will speak to the kids that it really needs to get to. And I see some heads nodding, and I love that affirmation. And then there will be kids who don't get it, and there will be kids who don't like it. And that is okay too. All these new formats, verse, this before and after, all of these new formats are coming out, and we're just celebrating diversity, and we're trying to be courageous and in creation. But I want to walk you through what was going through Taylor's mind when she started writing what ultimately became her whole 8th grade language arts journal. And if you can do this with your students, your reader, your clients, it will really help you understand how this book started off. So I'm going to help you ease into it. And Julie also will give a little quick 6-minute clip at the end, a link to it where you can see more, and you get a little treat at the end. You get to see a treat if you really hang in there. So I'm opening my book, and the first page is so weird because it's completely blank. And I can't think of another book where the first page is blank. There might be one, but I did that intentionally. So we know that there's a prompt, and we know that the prompt is "on my mind is ... So we know whoever's writing the prompt is inviting kind of an open-ended question. But Taylor's got nothing. And the reason she has nothing is because we find out she's been through something very traumatic. So we'll go to the second page, and there's a little bit more writing on the second page, a little more. It's winter, and there's just a tiny bit more writing than there was the first time. The next day, we have another prompt in winter, and there's a lot more writing there. So what can we gather? What are we finding out about the writing? It's growing a little more every time, which makes me think, as a reader, maybe this writing might be helping Taylor with something that's wrong. Okay, this is a story about a love letter to writing. What you and I are going to look at together is page 4 of winter, and mine has writing all over it. And all I want you to notice is that there's a list. There's just a list of stuff. Okay, let's put our book down for a minute. This would be just so fun to do in a classroom. I want to come to everybody's middle grade classroom and do this with them and see what they come up with, because they feel so good about it. It's like a skeleton poem. They love doing this. I did this with a whole school district in Australia the other day. So we're going to pretend that we're in an 8th grade classroom right now. And something, maybe we're not feeling it. It's not happening. But we know we have a prompt on the board. We're supposed to be writing some stuff down. So we're just going to write some stuff down. And I am going to set a timer for 2 minutes. And all I want you to do is what Taylor does, which is look around the room and write a list of what you see. So for 2 minutes, we're just going to look around and get some words down on the paper. And I'm doing it too. Okay. So here we go. I should see all your heads bobbing all over the place. We have about half a minute. See if you can push yourself to look in the open spaces. Oh, find something small. Okay, let's stop there. So what we have right now is a list of things, but we're writers, and the kids in your class and the kids in your house and the kids in your library, they're writers too. And are we a writer if we only make a list? I'm not sure. So let's tweak this list and rearrange it like a real writer would. The first thing we're going to do is pick our favorite word on that list and bump it up to the top and start with that. Okay, now we have one word on our new list. This is the way a writer would do it. We're revising now. Do we have any other words on our list that have any of those same sounds? They may have the first same letter, they may have the same vowel sound, they might have the same ending, they might be in the same family of what that word means. Let's take a couple of those words and put it under the first word. Okay, next, let's just think about rhythm for a minute. We can also call that cadence. Let's think about rhythm. So read your new revised list, what you have, and think to yourself, what word from the old list would come really nicely next? Go ahead and put that down. And do we have any words that start with that same letter or have any of those same beginnings or endings or middle letters? Okay, let's just think about which word comes next. Just think. We'll go with think here. Now let's just go with our gut. I love going with the gut. Sometimes our gut is all we've got. So look on that list and just with your gut, pick a word and move it over. If you have a couple words left, you can put them into some formation on your newly revised list for a minute. That was our second draft. Now let's look at that second list. We're going to take a really hard look at it, and we're going to use a thinking skill called analysis. We're just going to read through that list, and we're going to cross off anything we just don't like. If we just don't like the sound of it, the rhythm, the cadence, if we don't like the length of the word, we're just going to cross off anything we don't like. Look at your last word. That's where your poem ends. Do you like where your poem ends? If you like it, go ahead and keep it. But if you like it, if you'd like to end a different way, see what you can do about figuring out a different word for that ending. You can even add one in by looking around the room. So now you have a poem. You just wrote verse, and we all have something different. If I were to read or listen to all of your poems, I would be able to probably guess where you are. I will read you mine. Here was my first list. I want you to hear how all over the place it is. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sound the same. It was just a list. Here it is. I'm just going to rattle it off. Faucet, sink, fridge, dish soap, spoon, lemonade, almond cake, cheese grater, stove, kettle, plug, outlet, mixer. Where am I? In the kitchen, right? Okay, but now when I did my 3 revisions, here's how my poem sounds. And unfairly, I'm going to read this a little bit nicer. Mixer, grater, faucet, sink, dish soap, stove, spoon, lemonade, fridge, outlet, kettle, almond cake. Do you see the difference there? And how great would kids feel about doing this? It's easy peasy, right? So now let's go back to Taylor. So on page 4, we can show our students or our kids, we can show them, they can understand what Taylor is doing here. Winter's prompt is, what was your first impression of Our Lady of Redemption? So Taylor is at school. Notebook, whiteboard, just write words. Prompt, erasers, posters, wall. Synonyms for said, web, shelves, to kill a, tears are words, waiting to be written. Map, flag, CD player, fire exit, door. So now she has door, and she's thinking about the prompt, Our Lady of Redemption. Now that is going to catapult her into actually writing the prompt. First impression at OLR, doors, big and dark, holding all the unknown inside them. That's on page 4. And then we're introduced to her brother and his friends, and the story just goes on for there. But I want to show you one more thing. This list comes back when Taylor can't write. She defaults to the list. This is going to be significant when the villain, Brielle, is just drowning in suffering in the end of the book, right in front of Taylor's eyeballs. She has made life for Taylor absolutely miserable, and she reaches to Taylor for help. And a list is going to be significant with that. I just want to show you one other trick with the book. Since we started with the blank page of winter, on my mind is, that's the first page. The last page or the last chapter is spring. We have the same prompt, maybe 8 months later. On my mind is, and we have all the white space again. This is not supposed to be here. Hi, you want to say hi?
No, just listen.
Come over here. This is who the book is dedicated to. This is my son, Reese.
Hello.
He helped a lot. I know. So something fun to do with students or OBOBers is to interpret the white space, because this first white space and the last white space have completely, utterly different meanings. And that's just kind of a fun little thing I did. So I know the book is hard. I know it's sophisticated. I think kids who need it, it will come to them. I'm excited about the OBOB questions because there's so many ways you could go. Like, what did Eli write his college admissions essay about? A dragonfly. Is that a question? I hope it's not. Anyway, if it is and you're listening, you just got one right. Oh, I love to see you all laughing. And please share this wildly, because I could see your faces. I was lucky and I could read your expressions to be like, oh, that's what that book is doing. So if you're a teacher or a parent or a librarian and you didn't have time to interpret this book, I just helped you through it. The first 20 pages is tough. And if they're too tough, go to the last 10 pages and just read 30 pages of the book. But if it speaks to you, if you want to understand a person who's moving through depressive disorder and trying to redeem herself and hold her life together, or if you want to be seen, or if you want to understand somebody else, then this is the perfect book for you, because it ends in a very hopeful, realistic, peaceful way. And hit up that YouTube 6-minute thing so that you can see the treat at the end. It's kind of furry. There's a hint. It's different colors. It doesn't like me to hold it, but I did. And can I please say that the audio for Taylor before and after will be coming out and can be pre-ordered on Amazon through Blackstone Audio. You can listen at the end of November, and it's an audiobook. It's also on CDs. And this voice, when I heard her read the first word, I could not believe she was that absolutely perfect. And as a middle school teacher, as a teacher for 27 years, I always plug having a book along with the audio for reluctant readers, or, this book is tough. It would be nice maybe if they could have both. And it just increases the fluency. I've seen it in my own house where one book catapulted a reluctant reader into, I get this by just following along with the audio. So please consider getting the audio for your school or your family, gifting it to a school or a library. It's on CDs, and I love it. Yes, Julie.
So I will let everybody here know, in case you were unaware, there is an alternative to the big guys that supports independent bookstores, and it's called Libro.fm. So I just confirmed that this will be available. Right now, retail price is $16.95. Libro works exactly the same as the other one. You can either buy the books one-on-one, or for $14.99 a month, you get your free book and then every additional one discounted, sometimes up to 30%. But what's really nice about Libro is wherever you live, you can find your local bookstore and they get credit for the purchase. So for instance, I had a Libro account and Roundabout is my bookstore of choice. So I will say that it's already sitting up here showing that you can pre-order it, and it says publication date December 13th. That could always change. They're always
that's for that's for the CDs.
The audio, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the other thing. What's the other thing? The audio.
So the way that Libro works is exactly the same as Audible. It goes right to an app on your phone.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so you just download the Libro app, purchase the books, and now you can purchase them through the app on your phone. Before, you could only do it on their website and then it would link to your phone. You can do them both. But so at the bookstore, I will say, if you love books, get a job just once at a bookstore, because we get free advanced listening copies of books. So before books get published, I get to listen to them on my phone when I drive back and forth between Bend and Portland. Just saying, work at a bookstore at least once in your life. It's amazing.
Good tip. You'll love this voice. I mean, yes. I just feel so lucky, and I was lucky to get to hear her before, and she's just absolutely stunning, soft and sad, but relatable and just gorgeous. And I didn't know about that, so thank you. As an author, I'm always trying to boost independent bookstores, of course, which makes me I will be at Green Bean Books in Portland on Monday, also at 10:15 a.m. So if I can sign anybody's book or sticker it at Green Bean on Alberta Street in Portland, on Monday. And then a few hours later, I'll be in Roundabout in Bend at 3 p.m., 3 to 3:30. And I would love to meet with you and take a picture and give you a personal message. And maybe you can show me your poem. Didn't that feel good to create something? Didn't that feel so nice? So that's.
Should we open it up to Q&A?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, we should.
So I know that so many of you are familiar with Zoom, but I'll just remind you, there's two ways you can put it in the chat window, and then I or Jenny can read it out loud, or you can use the raise hand function. And if you use that, it shows me on the screen, and then I can unmute you so that we don't have everybody talking at once. So if anybody has questions, now is the time. Please ask. It always takes a second. It's like being back in school again, where everyone's like, I don't want to be the first one.
Well, while you're asking, and I've already, tried to spend a little bit of your money on a beautiful audio tape for a listener who could use that, I will tell you how much positive reviews mean to authors. Only everything. I mean, we don't always get all the good feedback, and we do a good job boosting each other. That might be a secret for you, that we try to be friends and kind to each other. But if you love the book, or you know someone who loved the book, please think about any book. You're gonna love Waka's book. Hop on to Goodreads or Amazon. I love Waka. You can see what I wrote on Goodreads or Amazon about Waka's book, and you can see that we're friends.
That's awesome. So it looks like Amy has a question. So Amy, go ahead and unmute and ask away.
Hello.
Hi.
So I was curious, when you were writing the book, if you wrote it with the entries in order and then shuffled them, or did you write it with the going back and forth in time?
What do you want to take a guess at how I did that?
I mean, I would guess that you did it in order. It seems like it would be a monumental task to try to keep it straight, writing it the way that it is. Because I mean, it's
So you've definitely got some author in you, because it would have been a monumental task to write it out of order, which is exactly the way that I did it. I wrote it monumentally out of order.
Wow.
Yeah, because, and so if you read it now, you'll know that, you'll see that I had to be taking threads through, and then and undoing the threads, and then carrying. I had to be consistent with the year, so it did take a lot of time. So you'll see how they were purposefully done that way. But that's why the book took 9 months to write and 4 years to revise. And I just finished another manuscript that took me 2 months to write, and it's taking me 8 months to revise. So I'm thinking that it takes me 4 times as long to revise than it does to write. I don't do it the easy way.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Like, I can't even imagine how you kept that straight.
I went insane, and that's okay. Also, I had to mimic that depression. So I had to come in and out in that nonlinear way. Maybe I would do it differently I don't know if I would. I don't know. The next book is just straightforward, and I'll tell you that was a lot easier.
Okay, thank you very much.
Did you read it?
I did. I enjoyed it a lot. But I was, throughout the whole thing, I was really curious as to how you would approach writing it, because it does go all over the place. And I found myself looking back a lot when something would come up later in the book, and I'd be like, wait, what was that? And then, just trying to find where that reference had been was, tricky because of the nonlinear pattern. So yeah,
it is tricky. There's lots and lots and lots of layers to that book, and the reviews are funny, because there's one that says I wanted more detail. And there was one that said, this is too much detail. And then there's one that literally says, I wanted more. I don't know more of what, I don't know. But another one says, I wanted less. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'm doing a good job if I'm not making, everybody happy. I don't know.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. I hope you wrote a good poem. Happy for yourself.
All right, do we have more questions? So Jennie, maybe you can just talk a little bit though about like your revising and the editing, because I know a lot of people don't realize, or maybe they do, but don't often think about it. So I'm a book editor, and giving over your manuscript to someone can both be very scary because, there is judgment. But also when you're doing the revision, how difficult it is to maybe think about, I need to remove that, but I loved what I wrote. What was that like for you?
So if my writing partners are watching this, they're going to be just howling in laughter because I get rid of anything. I am unattached. I feel like I know my character. I can get her through anything. And you get curveballs from your agent, you get them from your editor, you get sensitivity readers. I have a writing partner in Kentucky, and once on a short story, he gave me 17 suggestions, and just to play with them, I used 16, and the other one just didn't work because of the ages of the people. But I am just a weirdo, and I own it. I have super thick skin. I call myself a revisionary because I will take anybody's suggestion and just go, I'll just do it. I'll try it. I had to be super brave to put out a book like this about depression in a format like this, about a place I didn't live in and a culture I had to get to know and really wanted to get right. So I'm thick-skinned, and my writing is not me. It's something that I do, and it can't be perfect. I take it as far as I can myself, and then I can't make it any better. People have to help me, and I have to listen. So I have a whole middle school lesson that I do for school visits on revision. I have another one on research, but I'm also a college critical thinking, composition, research, writing teacher. So I'm hardcore grammar. There's not a ton of that kind of stuff to clean up. I would like to think, but organization wise, I'm sure it's a mess, and I feel bad for anybody who has to look at my stuff. I hope they have fun with it. They know that I'll turn it into some kind of something.
Yeah. I love that you say though that the writing isn't you, because I think that's really beautiful to think that it's just flowing through you, right? There are authors who think, the characters are speaking to them and they're getting it out. And that's so lovely. Like when I read books where I'm like, how did you know the character was going to do that? Or you get to the end and one of the books, and this is for the grownups in the room, the kids will have to read it later, but The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, I was almost depressed when it ended because it was so beautiful, where I was just like, how did you do that? And I also love that you said it's not perfect, because now that your book is published, and you're giving these talks and you're reading it. And I know so many authors who are like, man, I wish I could rewrite that one sentence, now that I've read it multiple times. And I think that's so wonderful to instill in the next generation of writers, is that there is no such thing as perfect in writing. Never, ever, ever. Because that will stop you from publishing too, because, well, I can rewrite this paragraph and it'll be better. Stop. Share it with the world. Everyone wants, it's hard as an editor too, because obviously I don't want to change people's voice and that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and there's things, that we want to hold on to, and we'll fight for those things. Right. I fought for one thing, but I can't remember what it was now. Other than that, everything, I'll try anything, but that's really unique. But I think kids love to see that, and they love to hear it.
So we've got a question in the chat. Did you always love writing, even as a young kid?
I did love writing. I loved it more at sometimes than others. Sometimes in middle school and high school, when you're forced to write, or you're doing integrated disciplinary writing, like science writing, maybe, that I was doing in college. But I got kind of, I was teaching writing for a really long time. I taught from actual printing, actual writing in a Sacramento kindergarten, to research writing, creative writing in college. And all of a sudden, a few years ago, I thought I should probably try to do some writing myself. And that's why I wrote Taylor Before and After. But also, I want to say how tricky and historic and let's see, what's the word? Not perfect. It was to debut the week before the country locked down from COVID, because that in itself is a whole thing. And there are things that I've done and benefits and blessings from that. Sales has been, and marketing was the hard thing. There just wasn't that for the first year of COVID. So I'm really proud that it won 2 awards and is on an OBOB book and a Junior Library Guild selection. I'm proud when it reaches somebody, because that was not an easy road. I went through editors, and I was lucky to actually get my book, and it came out in paperback and it came out in audio, because so many authors were upended by, like everybody else, by the pandemic. But that was really unique to debut, the week before. And Taylor's not this writer anymore. She's grown up a little more now, and I'm not this writer anymore. So I could write, the thing that I just finished in the 2 months is very whimsical and almost fantastic and fun and funny and silly. And but now, if I was going to start a story, I would be in a totally different place than that. So
Yeah.
Our writing changes, and I think I've embraced whatever place I am. Obviously, I was in a dark place when I wrote this, but thanks for asking that. Yes, I always have loved writing.
That's awesome.
I wasn't always good at it.
No,
Can I ask
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to ask a follow-up to that question. When you talk about the book a lot, it seems like your starting point is oftentimes character development. Is that maybe like your favorite aspect of writing, or versus writing about like developing a plot? Or
it is, yeah. Okay,
you like character the best?
Yes, I do, because you can tell I love people. Like, I've been looking at you, and I've been looking at your background the whole time, and I'm figuring everybody out. Now, don't look, your plant looks really nice back there, but I forgot the question. See, I got so distracted by people. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. That's the only plant I can keep alive, and a friend gave it to me. But I was asking if you'd like to, like, character development seems to be
yes. Okay, yes. So that there's essentially two kinds of fiction, and one is literary fiction, which is character driven, and the other one used to be called commercial fiction. Now I'm seeing it more called genre fiction, but it is more geared to marketing, and that is more plot driven. So in my writing group in Ashland here, of the 4 of us, 3 are pretty character driven, and then the one is always calling us out on what's the conflict here, where's the tension, where's the stakes, where's the suspense. And we just have these characters going through life and flying kites and riding bikes, and that's great for us. So I love every single character in this book like they were Reese, who you just saw. I love Fatua Taniulu, who writes the imaginative stories in the writing club. I love Isabel, who all the drama happened to her before it happened to Taylor. I love Brielle, the villain, who who is flawed and real and human. I love Eli, who makes this horrible mistake that affects so many people. And I love Taylor for moving with it, moving like the ocean, fluid, moving with it, and all that she encounters.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we did get started a little late and it's 7 o'clock now, but if there are more questions, please feel free to ask them. We're happy to stay, a couple more minutes, answer questions. But Jennie, I'm really excited that you're traveling to some bookstores too, because what you were saying about, the pandemic, we've had such a great success at the store with, doing these Zoom events. And I know so many people miss being in person, and I'm so happy that we're doing like almost a half of, of them, but it's also opened us up to be able to talk to people that aren't able to make it, to Bend, because for most of you who are here in Oregon, driving over the pass to get to Bend for about 6 months of the year can be a little treacherous, but also a lot of people from the East Coast aren't necessarily going to fly over here to visit, this tiny store we have. And the pandemic both closed and opened so many doors that has been an interesting thing to watch, and watch books do well and watch other books just unfortunately get kind of smothered. So I'm so happy that yours didn't, whether it took a year to kind of, get that going. I'm so happy that it didn't. So Amy's got another question. So Amy.
Also, I hustled. I worked hard. I hustled this thing, and I could talk about that another time too.
You should give a talk on how to promote your middle grade.
No, I should not. I should not give that talk. I could give a talk
Amy.
about hustle, but I can't give the talk about success. Is that fair? Because they're different. But if I had to pick one, I would pick hustle. Okay, Amy.
What does E stand for?
Oh, somebody asked me that today because I was a guest at a book club. The E is exempt from paying. Is that what you guessed?
Yeah.
Exempt from paying any tuition. Yeah.
Awesome.
But since the kids never really find that out, I didn't think that the reader needed to find that. Like Taylor doesn't know.
Yeah, I kind of liked that it was never, answered. I kind of liked that was the way that was left.
Thank you.
Do you have anything that you would say? I have a daughter who's, her writing is beautiful, but she is an ultra perfectionist. And I'm wondering if you have any advice for dealing with that.
I totally do. In fact, it's written out, and it has been written out maybe only for 2 weeks. So if you email me, I will gift you this little bit of how to get past that perfectionism.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I have a whole, she sounds like mom. I'm working on a secret project. So I'll give you a little slice of it. Do you see my email right there?
I do.
So the people who did show up tonight got kind of a little insight, some hustle, some laughs in, some, I don't know, little treasures. And you can get, there's my email in there. If you ever like me to do a Zoom with a book club, if you like me to visit your OBOB group, if you, let's see, I did a parents book club today, or author visit for your school.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Well, I would just like to thank everybody who is here. Apologies for whatever was going on with the Zoom link, but we really appreciate your support of both OBOB, because, that's really cool. It wasn't around when I was a kid, and I totally would have participated. I would have been right there in it. But we really appreciate supporting local independent bookstores wherever you are. So again, if you're local to us, please give us a call, get a copy of the book if you don't already have it. But wherever you are, please remember to support your local indies. And as Jenny's holding up, we will be talking with Waka Brown next week for While I Was Away. So if you know other people who are interested and involved in OBOB and they don't know about the upcoming events, just send them to the Roundabout website. And I'll remind everyone it's roundaboutbookshop.com, because there is another Roundabout in Michigan. And we get confused with them more often than I would like. So we just want to thank everybody, like I said, for being here tonight. I will get the recording of this posted and sent out to everyone. So again, you can, reshare it with anyone you think would like to hear about this book and other books and just writing in general and all the fun stuff we talked about tonight. So with that, if there's no more questions, I think we will go ahead and wrap it up and sign off. Jenny, thank you again so much for being here. I really enjoyed it, and we will continue to tell everyone at Roundabout about your book.
Thank you so much. Help me share this. Kids need this book right now more than ever. They're isolated. We're back in school and things aren't all the way better. And this book needs to find kids. They need to be seen with that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you again, everyone. Have a great night and keep reading.
Thanks, Julie. That was great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.